Oh, hi there. I wanted to talk about a documentary I watched called Jailed in South Asia. Basically, it was about gold smuggling. These tourists, they go to these places in Asia and they meet up with Nepalese gangsters in Hong Kong, and there's this supposedly lucrative business of smuggling gold into Nepal, and then it ends up going through India, and you can make $2,000 a run at doing that. Um, this guy who was speaking in the documentary, he was a Londoner and had been traveling Southeast Asia for a number of months, and he was running low on money, and he ended up agreeing to go about going to Nepal with all this gold, along with a few other people who he'd run into. Um, he was set up right from the beginning. Um, Spent some time in jail, and it was an overall really good documentary to watch. But the thing about documentaries is you shouldn't just watch them and feel fulfilled, like you're intellectually stimulated even though you didn't do anything. You just sat down and watched the documentary. You have to further question things, because I most certainly felt as I was watching it that there was a lot of things that weren't mentioned at all in the documentary. I definitely felt that the message wasn't negative enough. Um, like, it felt like he was in a very serious situation, and that it's a lot easier to get in that kind of trouble than people want to admit. Like, he starts off the documentary of like the first 5-10 minutes talking about how great Asia is, how much fun he had in places like Thailand, and I forget the other nosebleed countries he went to. I think Malaysia or something like that. I don't know. I don't care. And how it was all about good food, being on the beach, drinking, socializing with tourists and things like that. And then he started running low on cash, and he ran into a man who set him up with some Nepalese gold smugglers. Um, Very, very shady business. It's like not worth the trouble at all. Um, $2,000 in Southeast Asian countries is worth a lot of money. You could live, I have no idea how long for with that kind of money, probably a very long time, uh, if you're conservative about it, I suppose. Anyway, $2,000 for smuggling a significant amount of gold into a country is an absolute ripoff for starters. Like, that's moronic to even consider doing that for that little amount of money. It's not worth to do it for any amount of money, but for piddly a little amount of money like that, it's definitely not worth it. Um, but they didn't know. They just didn't have any concept. They were young guys, and they were looking for adventure, and they thought it would be a good idea. They were very wrong. Um, I could see why, you're young and you're naive, and yeah, you're looking for adventure, and you think, what could possibly go wrong? But you don't understand. You can't actually do business with Asians. That's not being racist. Although, to be quite frank about it, I am a little bit about racist doing about Asian business, to be honest with you. I'd never do business with an Asian person if I could avoid it. Um, anyway, they get on the airplane. Supposedly there's no metal detectors. Anyway, the second they get there, the Nepalese consulate or whatever uh, catches them, and they're arrested. And that's because the guys back in Hong Kong who set them up with the gold, they lied to them. Um, they figured, well, we'll just send some bodies over there, idiots, and they'll take a fall. And because they actually were the ones who snitched on them, they actually get part of the money back legitimately from the Nepalese government for supposedly snitching on gold smugglers. And because these guys were young, stupid, and didn't know what they were doing, they didn't actually know anything themselves. So it's not as if they could turn around and point the finger back at them because they didn't know anything. The original gold smugglers and the gangsters in Hong Kong didn't tell them anything. And of course they didn't. They were paranoid that the way they were smuggling it in, that they may have been smuggling it more than what they thought they were bringing in. Well, for one thing, they brought in more gold than they thought, and they could have been smuggling in drugs and not known about it, and that could be a death penalty over there because they never actually saw what they were taking in. It was all hidden in vests. And that would be a truly terrifying experience going to an Asian jail. The narrator, he spoke of some vague notion that they didn't know what was going to happen as far as, are they going to get raped in prison? Is it going to be severe beatings all the time? They just didn't know. They were sentenced to 4 years in a Nepalese prison. As it turns out, from the sound of this guy's story, he got off light. He didn't spend the entire 4 years in prison, so he says. But I guarantee you that would not be a fun experience. Because it's not as if you could even trust the Nepalese legal system. They may say 4 years, but you're not going to have any concept of time, dates, or even what year it is. You could be there a lot longer, and time itself could be distorted. You don't know when hours pass by. Days will pass by, and you'll notice that because it becomes night and day, obviously, or you may not because you may be in a place where you can't tell if it's night or day or not. And 1 week you may think it's a week and a half, and then over time that week and a half becomes 2 weeks, and then further and further, and then all of a sudden you may not have any real clue how long you've been there for. And I highly doubt there's clocks on the walls. They don't even have those here, and this is Canada, a first world country. They don't even have them here. They don't want you knowing anything here. Over there, yeah, they're going to tell you anything. Yeah, sure they are. You could be in a lot of trouble and you don't even know it. Like me, I didn't do fuck all, and I was in mental health for 6.5 years. Didn't do fuck all. I know I didn't do fuck all. They know I didn't do fuck all. But even so, because of the legal red tape and all this other shit, I've had to deal with them a lot longer. They've not pissed off, and like I've wanted them to. And you try and convert that over to more of an Asian system where crime is treated differently than it is over here. And they're a much poorer country, and they're much more stern in their legal system. Over here, it's bad enough, but over there, it's a whole other ball game. And throughout the documentary, they're saying, well, they had contacts and things like that said, well, money talks, and they had some vague notion that everything would be all right. And eventually they got a chance to write a letter to the king, because apparently on his birthday he sometimes lets prisoners out if they write him a really nice letter, I suppose. And through various things that were going on, that's how they got out. The king let them out after 8 months of their stay. And 8 months in a Nepalese prison is a very long time, by the way. But I mean, they ran into a white guy, the only other white guy in the Nepalese prison when they went there, and they said he'd gone crazy. They said he was there nearly 4 years, but I'm sure he didn't know, and they didn't know, and for all we know, he's probably still rotting in there if he's not dead. Because supposedly this happened in the 90s. He's probably dead. Um, I have no idea how old this documentary is. It was released on DocuTube um, in 2017, May. So it says it's a new documentary. It says must watch as well. But it goes to show you the complexity of how Asians do business sometimes. But the thing about complexity is there can be something glaringly stupid about complexity. And one thing that's very stupid about Asian complexity in dealing business is the fact that you have to know you cannot trust them at all. They may pitch a story and it may sound plausible to you, but the truth of the matter is there may be another reason why they're doing it, which you may not think of, but you should do before you even consider even talking to them. These guys came in with a plan of saying, we're just going to pick up some schmucks, send them over the border, and smuggle this gold, and then the Nepalese officials are going to seize them, they're going to go to jail, and because we snitched on them, we're going to get payback. And who cares what happens to them? The thing is, this is a dulled down story. There are a lot worse cases out there where it was just some guys looking to make some money, where they figured it'd be an easy job and it didn't pan out for them, and they got the death penalty for it. There are Asian gangsters out there who have no compunction at all to sending white guys knowingly to their deaths. And these people go, oh, I really want to go to like Thailand, Vietnam. It's so cultured. Blah, blah, blah. I had to listen to that to some guy on the while I was on public transit, and like I just come back from a bar, right? So I'd had a couple drinks, and and I do know when to keep my mouth shut when I've had a couple drinks. But really, I felt like telling them to shut the fuck up. Like, he was going on about, oh, how great the food was, how cultured it was. He went on about the elephant sanctuary that he volunteered at, that he had to pay to volunteer at, by the way. And I went, I think he said he did that one in Vietnam. I forget which country. He may have been in Cambodia, or maybe he said he was in Cambodia for like a couple of days or something like that. I forget. But this is a country that's well known for beating and torturing elephants. In fact, it's not uncommon for them to put elephants in solitary confinement for like up to who knows how many years. Long time, and elephants are social creatures. It's really, really, really a vicious thing to do to them. And he's going on about how cultured they are and how he was lucky to volunteer at a elephant sanctuary. I'm like, you probably went to the only one where they actually treat their elephants somewhat nicely, and they do it for a profit. I mean, in Western culture, there are a lot of places, okay, circuses aren't a good example, but there are a lot of places that that take care of animals who do it for free because they really care about the animals. No, in Asia, they don't do anything for free. And if they're not going to make the amount of money they want to out of it, i.e. killing the poor elephants for their ivory, then they're going to abuse the fuck out of them. Like, to the point, like, these people don't deserve to be on this planet anymore. And still, white people go to Southeast Asia with this concept of a world that doesn't exist over there. Sure, you have nice touristy, seemingly nice touristy areas where it's all smiles, it's all good time, alcohol's cheap, food's cheap, this, that, and the other, it's all beaches and all that. But there are a lot of very horrible places over there. And I think people are too ignorant of that, and I don't think it's openly discouraged enough in Western culture. Hell, there's fucking propaganda posters up by the trains that I use on a daily basis. And if any friend of mine says they're going to Southeast Asia because they want to travel the world and things like that, like I would say, like if they were a good friend of mine, I would really make a conscious effort to try and discourage them from going there. If they're not, if I know they're not going to listen to me, then I'm going to say I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. Because there are a lot of people out there who you cannot convince one way or the other, and that is an impediment. That is a weakness. When you're so pig-headed about something that you cannot be convinced otherwise, and you won't listen to reason. Want to be like that? Go ahead, be an idiot. But I'm not. I mean, I guess you're going to say, well, in the reverse situation, why couldn't we be able to convince you to go there? I mean, there's got to be nasty people, nasty business types who live in the part of the world that you do, which is true, but it's not the same thing. Not the same thing at all. And the only way someone could even present the argument with me is if they manipulate facts and withhold information. There is no way I would be convinced to go into Asia at any cost. I don't care if I got 2 Japanese girls sucking my dick. I might say, yeah, sounds great, yeah, I'll go there. And then after they're done, get the fuck out of here. I'm not going there. You can't trust them. They're called monkeys, and that's not necessarily an insult over there. Although, when I call them a monkey, it is an insult. But anyway, it means they're tricksters, and that basically means they lie and deceive. And that brings it all to this. These Nepalese gangsters and the gold smuggling. These guys were young, naive, and they went along with it. And it's a lot easier to end up going down that road than people think. A lot of people go, no, I've never done anything wrong. I'm never going to go down that path. But you can never quite be sure, because things aren't always as they appear, especially in Asia. And I don't have to watch a lot of documentaries and see a lot of what actually goes on over there to know this as a fact. Because the thing is, Western media, the internet, it lies. And it lies so hard about Asia that it's absurd. The Knowledge Network. It's television catered for old folks, so it's perfect for my dad. They basically say, come to Asia, Viking River cruises. You have the time of your life. Everything is so nice over here. And it's like, or Cinerama or some shit like that. And it's like, no, that is a lie. And it is not anything like how you presented it. And fuck you for trying to present that to senile old folks. Um, Not like that at all. You look up Asian factories in the Google search engine, and it will show you the best one they have. And their uniforms are ugly, but anyway, supposedly everything's top of the line, everything's squeaky clean, everything's running smoothly, it's all advanced, um, highly efficient equipment, safe. And you go, no, an Asian factory in real life is not anything like that at all. And the reason they disguise that is because they want people to continue using products and wearing products that have been made in Asia, and they don't want you to feel guilty about it. They don't want you to know that it's people in rags eating plastic-laced rice and noodles, where they actually opt not to eat their breakfast to save what would be the equivalent of a few pennies to us. It's very nauseating when you hear a white person use the word cultured when speaking of Asian countries, as if white people aren't cultured. You know, a lot of Asians say we don't have a culture at all. That they're better than us and all that. Um, you know what? I'm not going to villainize you for saying that you think you're better than us, because I don't think we're better than you. I know we're better than you. And from your perspective, I can understand you saying, well, maybe you just think that. Maybe you're an idiot. In fact, we want to believe that because you're a white guy. You're free to have your opinion. But at the end of the day, tomorrow I'm going to have for breakfast um, smoked cod, Scottish smoked cod, very nice. Um, some Uncle Ben's rice. It's American from what I hear. Not bad tasting, really. There's a more expensive way of buying rice than, you know, buying the big sacks of rice that are supposed to come from Asia. But wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna live the good life over here, and I'm not gonna go over there thinking the good life's over there, and then finding out it's really just a bunch of lies and shit. And if I can convince people that the narrative that mainstream media is trying to tell people is completely wrong, then I've done my job. I feel I've contributed something positive to the world in a world where it's a very negative place. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Have a good one.